The stars looked different out here in the dark space between systems. Commander Vexthul had been traveling these empty regions for over 20 years, but something about this particular void made his skin crawl. His ship, the Silent Wind, moved through the asteroid field like a ghost, its sensors reaching out into the black looking for anything worth reporting back to the Confederation. "Sir, we have something," called out Science Officer Kethrin from his station. His voice carried that tone that meant he had found something big. "Long-range sensors are picking up a massive object. It appears to be artificial." Vexthul moved to the center of the bridge, his forearms working the controls with practiced ease. The main screen flickered to life, showing a grainy image of something huge floating among the rocks. It was clearly a ship, but unlike anything in their databases. "How big?" Vexthul asked. 3 kilometers long, maybe more. It's just sitting there, sir. No power signatures, no heat, no movement. Looks completely dead." The alien commander studied the image. The ship was angular, brutal-looking, with what appeared to be weapon ports scattered along its hull like scars. It reminded him of the old war vessels from the ancient conflicts, but this was clearly from a species they had never encountered. "Any signs of life?" "Nothing, sir. If there was ever a crew aboard, they're long gone now." 3 kilometers away, hidden in the shadow of the human battleship USS Thunder Bay, Commander Jake Morrison sat perfectly still in his command chair. His eyes were closed, but his mind was wide awake. The neural link connecting him to his crew buzzed with quiet activity as they maintained the illusion of a dead ship. "Sir," whispered Captain Lisa Brooks through the neural connection, "they're taking the bait. Alien vessel is moving closer." Morrison smiled without opening his eyes. "Excellent. How many crew members are they reading?" "0, sir. Our biodampeners are working perfectly. They think we're a ghost ship." The plan had been simple in concept but complex in execution. The Thunder Bay and her crew had been waiting in this asteroid field for 3 weeks, playing dead. Intelligence had suggested that Confederation scout ships regularly passed through this region, and Command wanted to know more about these aliens who claimed to represent a galactic government. The best way to learn about someone was to let them think they were studying you. Back on the Silent Wind, Vexthul was getting excited. Finding a derelict ship from an unknown species was the kind of discovery that could make a career. The Confederation was always hungry for information about new civilizations, especially ones that built ships this large. "Take us closer," he ordered. "I want a full spectrum analysis of that hull. Material composition, energy signatures, everything." "Sir, should we report this to Command first?" asked his navigation officer. "Not yet. Let's see what we're dealing with first. Could be nothing more than an old cargo hauler that got lost." But even as he said it, Vexthul knew that wasn't true. The ship's design spoke of military purpose. Every line, every angle looked designed for war. The question was, war against what? On the Thunder Bay, Chief Engineer Ryan Kelly monitored the alien approach from his position deep in the ship's core. Around him, the most advanced technology humanity had ever created hummed quietly in standby mode. Fusion reactors that could power entire cities sat cold and dark. Weapon systems that could crack planets waited for the word to activate. "They're scanning us," he reported through the neural link. "Basic stuff so far, just trying to figure out what we're made of." Morrison's mental voice came back calm and steady. "Let them look. Make sure all our good toys stay hidden." The human ship had been designed with this exact scenario in mind. Every system had multiple modes of operation. Right now, they were running on backup power that made them look like they were built with primitive technology. The aliens would see steel and titanium, basic fusion drives, and simple computer systems. They wouldn't see the quantum processors, the antimatter containment fields, or the weapons that could rewrite the laws of physics. Navigation Officer Amy Chen tracked the alien ship as it moved closer. Through her enhanced sensors, she could see 17 more human vessels hiding in nearby asteroid fields and behind small moons. The entire Fifth Fleet was here, invisible to alien sensors, waiting for the trap to be sprung. "Distance to target?" Morrison asked. 2 kilometers and closing, sir. They're being very careful." "Of course they are. They think they've found a treasure. Let's not disappoint them." Aboard the Silent Wind, the initial scans were coming back, and they were confusing. The ship appeared to be built with materials that were common throughout the galaxy, but there was something odd about the construction. The hull was thicker than necessary, and there were strange gaps and spaces that didn't make sense for a simple cargo or transport vessel. "Sir," Keithrin called out, "I'm reading some kind of internal structure that doesn't match any known ship design. It's like they built multiple ships inside one hull." "Interesting. Can you get more detail?" "I'll need to do a deep scan, sir. Really probe into their systems." Vexthul considered this. Deep scans were more invasive and could potentially be detected if anyone was still alive over there, but the ship appeared completely dead, and the potential intelligence value was enormous. I want to know everything about these people." Morrison felt the change in the alien scanning immediately. Where before they had been gently probing his ship's outer layers, now they were drilling deep into its systems. His smile grew wider. "Sir," Lisa Brooks reported, "they're doing a full, deep scan. They're about to get the surprise of their lives. Let them see what we want them to see, nothing more, nothing less." The Thunder Bay's computer systems began feeding carefully prepared false data to the alien sensors. They would see weapons, but not the real ones. They would see technology, but not humanity's best technology. They would see a military vessel, but not the true scope of human military capability. What they were about to discover would change everything. As the scan continued, Morrison opened his eyes for the first time in hours. Around him, his crew maintained their positions, looking like corpses floating in a dead ship. But beneath the surface, every system was ready to spring to life at a moment's notice. The trap was set. The aliens had taken the bait. Now came the fun part. The deep scan began slowly, like fingers reaching into the dark heart of the human ship. Science Officer Keithrin watched his instruments with growing excitement as data flowed across his screens. This was what he lived for, the moment when an unknown vessel gave up its secrets. "Initial readings are coming in now, sir," he reported to Commander Vexthul. "Hull composition is mostly iron-based alloys with titanium reinforcement, primitive but effective." Vexthul nodded. Most young species used similar materials when they first reached space, nothing surprising there. "What about their power systems?" "Fusion-based, sir." Again, very basic. "The reactors appear to be offline, probably have been for some time." Keithrin paused as new data scrolled past. "Wait, that's odd. What is it?" "The power distribution network is far more complex than it should be for a simple fusion system. There are conduits running to sections of the ship that don't appear to serve any obvious function." On the Thunder Bay, Chief Engineer Ryan Kelly smiled as he watched the alien scan probe deeper into their systems. The humans had spent months preparing for this moment, building false readings into every system. The aliens were seeing exactly what humanity wanted them to see, no more and no less. "They're buying it completely," Kelly reported through the neural link. "Reading our backup fusion plants as our main power source. They have no idea what's really down here." Commander Morrison's mental voice was calm but pleased. "Excellent. Let them dig deeper. Time to show them something that will get their attention." Kelly's fingers moved across his controls, gradually allowing the alien scan to penetrate further into the ship's systems. Layer by layer, he revealed the Thunder Bay's secrets, each one more shocking than the last. Back on the Silent Wind, Keithrin's excitement was turning into confusion, and confusion was rapidly becoming concern. The deeper his scan went, the more wrong everything seemed. The ship's computer systems alone made no sense. "Sir," he called out, his voice tight with worry. "I'm reading processing power that shouldn't be possible. Their computer core is showing quantum processing speeds that exceed our own ship's capabilities." Vexthul frowned. "That can't be right. Check your instruments." "I've run the scan 3 times, sir. The readings are consistent. These people have computer technology that's decades ahead of ours." The alien commander moved to stand behind his science officer, studying the readouts. Himself, what he saw made his blood run cold. The scan was revealing layer after layer of technology that should not exist in a ship built by a primitive species. "What about their weapons?" Vexthul asked, though he was beginning to dread the answer. Keithrin's hands shook as he accessed the weapon scan data. Sir, you need to see this. What I initially read as simple kinetic weapons are actually railgun systems. But the power, requirements, and acceleration capabilities are beyond anything in our database. How far beyond? Sir, according to these readings, they can accelerate projectiles to 15% of light speed. At that velocity, a simple metal slug would have the impact force of a nuclear weapon. Vexthul felt his four hearts beginning to race. 15% of light speed was theoretical maximum for kinetic weapons according to Confederation science. No civilized species had ever built weapons that powerful, because they were considered too dangerous to exist. On the Thunder Bay, Weapons Officer Brad Williams was enjoying the show. Through the ship's sensors, he could monitor the alien crew's growing panic as they discovered more and more of humanity's military capabilities. Sir, he reported to Morrison, they just found our railgun systems. Based on their bio readings, I'd say they're having the appropriate reaction. Good, Morrison replied. Show them the missile systems next. Let's see how they handle that. Williams made a small adjustment to the ship's scanner shields, allowing the alien probe to reach the Thunder Bay's missile bays. He grinned as he imagined the aliens' reaction to what they were about to discover. Catherine nearly fell out of his chair when the missile bay scans came through. Commander, we have a serious problem. Their missile systems are using antimatter, warheads. Antimatter? Vexthul couldn't hide the fear in his voice. That's impossible. Antimatter containment for weapons is theoretically impossible. The power requirements alone would destroy any ship trying to carry such weapons. Sir, they're not just carrying antimatter weapons, they have hundreds of them. And the containment fields are stable. I don't understand how they're doing it, but the math doesn't lie. The bridge of the silent wind fell silent except for the hum of their instruments. Every officer present understood what they were looking at. A single antimatter warhead could destroy their entire ship. This alien vessel was carrying enough firepower to level a small moon. But the scan wasn't finished. As Catherine continued to probe deeper into the human ship's systems, each new discovery was more terrifying than the last. The medical bay contained biological research labs with samples of diseases that could wipe out entire species. The communication array was designed not just for talking, but for psychological warfare that could drive enemy crews insane. Even the food production systems had been modified to create chemical weapons. Sir? Catherine whispered, his voice barely audible. This isn't just a warship. Every single system on this vessel has been designed for warfare. They've weaponized everything, even their life support systems. Communications Officer Kate Davis, hidden on the Thunder Bay, was monitoring every transmission from the alien ship. She could hear the growing terror in their voices as they discovered more and more of humanity's military innovations. Sir, she reported to Morrison, their crew is starting to panic. I'm picking up transmissions about contacting their home fleet. Let them, Morrison replied. In fact, make sure they get a clear signal. I want their friends to know exactly what they found. Navigation Officer Amy Chen was tracking the 17 other human ships positioned throughout the system. Each one was running the same stealth protocols as the Thunder Bay, appearing dead and harmless while actually being fully combat ready. Sir, she reported, the rest of the fleet is ready to move on your command. Should I signal them to begin Phase 2? Not yet, Morrison said. Let our alien friends finish their scan first. I want them to get the complete picture before we introduce ourselves properly. Back on the silent wind, Commander Vexthul was staring at his screens in horror. The scan had revealed a ship that was less a vessel and more a mobile weapon of mass destruction. Everything about the human design spoke of a species that didn't just wage war, but had elevated warfare to an art form. How many crew members would it take to operate a ship like this, he asked. Catherine checked his readings. Based on the system complexity, at least 3,000 highly trained individuals. But sir, there's something else. The ship's design suggests that every crew member is cross-trained in weapons systems. They're not just sailors, they're all soldiers. Vexthul closed his eyes and tried to think. His mission was to scout and report on unknown species, not to make first contact with what appeared to be the galaxy's most dangerous military force. But it was too late to run now. The scan was almost complete, and soon they would know everything. about this mysterious human vessel. What he didn't know was that the humans already knew everything about him. The deeper scan continued, and Science Officer Catherine wished it would stop. Each new system he discovered on the human ship made his species' most advanced warships look like children's toys. But the worst was yet to come. "Sir," he called out, to Commander Vexithul, his voice shaking. "I'm reading something in their cargo bays that doesn't make sense." "What now?" Vexithul asked, though he dreaded the answer. Nothing about this ship made sense anymore. They appear to be carrying manufacturing equipment, sir, but not normal manufacturing. They have factories for producing weapons, ammunition, and... Catherine paused, double-checking his readings. "Sir, they have entire production lines for building more ships." The bridge of the silent wind fell silent. A warship that could build more warships was beyond anything in Confederation experience. Most species built their vessels in massive orbital shipyards that took years to construct. These humans had somehow miniaturized the entire process and put it inside a single ship. "How is that possible?" Vexthul whispered. "I don't know, sir, but according to these scans, they could theoretically build a small fleet while traveling between star systems. They're not just warriors, they're a mobile invasion force." On the Thunder Bay, Strategic Operations Officer Nick Foster was monitoring the alien reactions with professional interest. The humans had designed their ship specifically to terrify anyone who scanned it deeply enough. Every system had been built not just for efficiency, but for psychological warfare. "Sir," he reported to Commander Morrison through the neural link, "they just discovered our mobile shipyards. Their stress indicators are off the charts." Morrison's mental voice carried a hint of satisfaction. "Excellent. Show them the colony." "Pods next." Foster made the adjustment, allowing the alien scan to penetrate the Thunder Bay's lower decks. What the aliens were about to discover would push them over the edge. Catherine's hands were shaking so badly now that he could barely operate his controls. The human ship kept revealing new horrors with each passing minute. "Commander, there's more. They have what appear to be colonization equipment aboard." "Colonization equipment? On a warship?" "Yes, sir. Habitat modules, terraforming equipment, genetic banks. It's like they're prepared to not just conquer planets, but to completely reshape them and populate them with their own species." Vexthul felt sick. The picture that was emerging was of a species that didn't just wage war, but planned for total domination. They could arrive in a system, destroy all resistance, build more ships, terraform planets, and establish colonies, all with a single vessel. But the scan wasn't finished. As Catherine continued to probe the human ship's deepest systems, he discovered something that made everything else pale in comparison. "Sir," he whispered, "I'm detecting something in their central core that I don't understand. The energy signatures are unlike anything I've ever seen." "What kind of energy signatures?" "They appear to be manipulating space-time itself, sir. I think they have some kind of faster-than-light communication system that doesn't rely on hyperspace relays." This was impossible. Instantaneous communication across any distance was purely theoretical. Even the Confederation's most advanced science teams had only managed to prove it was mathematically possible, not actually build working systems. On the Thunder Bay, Communications Officer Kate Davis smiled as she monitored the alien transmissions. The aliens were discovering humanity's quantum entanglement communication network, which allowed instant contact with Earth and every other human ship in the galaxy. "Sir," she reported to Morrison, "they just found our quantum comm system. I think we've officially broken their understanding of physics." "Good," Morrison replied. "Now show them what we use it for." Davis made a small adjustment to their communication shielding. The alien scan would now be able to detect not just the existence of their quantum communication system, but some of the traffic flowing through it. Catherine nearly fainted when the communication data started flowing across his screens. "Commander, they're in contact with hundreds of ships, not just in this system but spread across the entire galaxy." "How many ships?" Vexthul asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. "Thousands, sir. Maybe tens of thousands. And they're all coordinating with each other in real time." This isn't just one ship, it's part of a massive fleet that spans multiple star systems. The alien bridge crew stared at their instruments in stunned silence. They had thought they were examining a single derelict vessel. Instead, they had discovered that they were surrounded by an invisible armada that could coordinate attacks across the entire galaxy simultaneously. But there was still more. As the scan reached the deepest levels of the human ship's systems, Catherine discovered something that challenged everything the Confederation thought they knew about warfare. "Sir," he said, his voice barely a whisper, "they have artificial intelligence systems controlling their weapons. AI weapon systems? That's forbidden by every civilized species in the galaxy." "Not just forbidden, sir. These AI systems are learning. They're analyzing our ship, our weapons, our tactics, and developing countermeasures in real time. They're not just smart, they're getting smarter every second we stay here." Aboard the Thunder Bay, the ship's primary AI, a system the humans simply called Atlas, was indeed learning everything it could about the alien vessel. In the few minutes since the scan began, Atlas had analyzed every aspect of Confederation technology and developed 47 different ways to defeat their defenses. Chief Engineer Ryan Kelly monitored Atlas with professional pride. "Sir," he reported to Morrison, "our AI has completed its analysis of their ship. Atlas could disable their vessel in approximately 37 seconds using any of 12 different methods." "Noted," Morrison replied. "But we're not here to fight. We're here to make friends." The irony was not lost on Kelly. Humanity's idea of making friends apparently involved terrifying potential allies into submission first. Back on the Silent Wind, the final scan results were coming in, and they painted a picture that made Vexthul's worst nightmares seem pleasant by comparison. The human ship wasn't just a warship, it was a mobile civilization designed for conquest on a galactic scale. "Final report," Catherine said, his voice hollow with shock. "The vessel carries sufficient firepower to destroy a small fleet, manufacturing capability to build more ships, colonization equipment to establish permanent settlements, communication systems that span the galaxy, and artificial intelligence that surpasses our best computers." Vexthul closed his eyes. In other words, a single human ship could conquer and hold an entire star system indefinitely. "Yes, sir. And based on their communication traffic, they have thousands of these ships." The alien commander opened his eyes and looked at his crew. Every face showed the same expression of terror and disbelief. They had set out to catalog a primitive species and instead had discovered the galaxy's ultimate predator. "Sir," his navigation officer called out, "should we retreat and report to Confederation Command?" Vexthul considered this. Running might be the smart move, but something told him it was already too late. If the humans had wanted to destroy them, they would have done it already. The fact that they were still alive suggested the humans had other plans. "No," he said quietly. "I think they already know we're here. I think they've known all along." As if summoned by his words, every system on the Silent Wind suddenly detected the same thing. The human ship, which had appeared dead and cold for hours, was powering up. Lights were coming online throughout its massive hull, and energy readings were climbing rapidly. The trap was about to be sprung. The human ship came alive all at once. Lights blazed across its 3-kilometer hull like stars being born. Power readings spiked so high that the Silent Wind's instruments couldn't measure them properly. What had seemed like a dead Hulk moments, before now hummed with energy that made space itself vibrate. Commander Vexthul watched in horror as his instruments showed the impossible. The human vessel was generating more power than his entire home fleet combined. Weapon systems that had been hidden were coming online one by one, each more terrifying than the last. "Sir," Science Officer Catherine called out, his voice cracking with fear. "They're targeting us. I count 17 different weapon locks on our ship." "17?" Vexthul asked. "No, sir, sorry. 23 now. The number keeps going up." On the bridge of the Thunder Bay, Commander Jake Morrison opened his eyes and stretched like a man waking from a pleasant nap. Around him, his crew maintained their positions but were no longer pretending to be dead. The charade was over. "Good morning, everyone," Morrison said calmly. I trust everyone enjoyed their rest. Captain Lisa Brooks smiled from her position at the tactical station. Very much, sir. Our guests have been quite thorough in their examination of our ship. Excellent. Communications, open a channel to our alien friends. Communications officer. Kate Davis nodded and activated the ship's external communication array. Channel open, sir. Morrison stood up from his command chair and walked to the center of the bridge. When he spoke, his voice was calm and friendly, the tone of someone greeting old friends. Greetings, crew of the Silent Wind. I am Commander Jake Morrison of the Terran Defense Fleet representing the United Earth Government. Thank you for your detailed scan of our vessel. We found it quite educational. On the alien bridge, the words hit like a physical blow. They had been caught. The humans had been awake and aware the entire time, watching them, learning from them, studying them just as thoroughly as they had been studying the human ship. How did you know our ship's name? Vexthul managed to ask. Morrison's voice carried a hint of amusement. The same way we know that you are Commander Vexthul of the Galactic Confederation 4th Scout Fleet. The same way we know that your home base is located in the Kepler 442 system. The same way we know that your fleet consists of 47 scout ships, 12 light cruisers, and 3 dreadnoughts. The alien commander felt his blood turn to ice. That's impossible. That information is classified at the highest levels. Nothing is impossible, Commander. While you were scanning our ship, we were scanning yours. Your computer security is quite good by galactic standards, but we have had a long time to practice breaking into secure systems. Strategic Operations Officer Nick Foster had spent the last 3 hours dissecting every piece of information flowing through the alien ship's computers. The Confederation's security might be advanced, but it wasn't, designed to stop intrusion methods that treated computer warfare as a legitimate branch of military science. Sir, Foster reported to Morrison through the neural link, I have complete tactical data on their entire fleet, including deployment schedules and patrol routes. Excellent work, Morrison replied mentally, then continued speaking aloud to the aliens. I hope you don't mind, but we also took the liberty of examining your stellar cartography databases. Very impressive maps, by the way. We particularly enjoyed learning about the locations of your colonies and military installations. Vexthul's 4 hearts were racing so fast, he thought they might burst. You hacked our navigation computers? Hacked is such an ugly word, Commander. We prefer to think of it as aggressive information sharing. After all, you were sharing our information with your computers. We simply returned the favor. The terrible truth was beginning to dawn on the alien crew. While they had been marveling at the human ship's weapons and technology, the humans had been quietly stealing every piece of classified information in their databases. They had been so focused on studying their enemy that they hadn't realized their enemy was studying them back. Speaking of information sharing, Morrison continued, we've been quite impressed with your Confederation's technology. Your ships are well designed, your crews are professional, and your government seems reasonably stable. These are all excellent qualities in potential allies. Allies? Vexthul asked weakly. Of course. Humanity has always believed in the value of friendship and cooperation. We would very much like to establish diplomatic relations with your Confederation. Chief Engineer Ryan Kelly was monitoring 17 other human ships as they began dropping their stealth systems throughout the asteroid field. One by one, massive warships were becoming visible to alien sensors, each one as heavily armed and advanced as the Thunder Bay. Sir, Kelly reported to Morrison, the rest of the fleet is coming online. Should I signal them to maintain positions? 4. Now, Morrison replied. Let's see how our new friends react to meeting the neighbors. On the Silent Wind, alarm klaxons began blaring as the ship's sensors detected one human warship after another, materializing out of empty space. Ships that had been invisible moments before were suddenly everywhere, surrounding the alien vessel, in a perfect sphere of overwhelming firepower. Sir, Kethrin called out, his voice barely controlled panic. I count 18 human ships. No, 21. They keep appearing out of nowhere. Navigation Officer Amy Chen was coordinating the reveal. With military precision, each human ship dropped its stealth at precisely calculated intervals, designed to create maximum psychological impact without appearing overly threatening. It was a delicate balance between showing strength and avoiding outright intimidation. Final. Count 24 ships, she reported to Morrison, all maintaining safe distances and non-aggressive postures. Morrison nodded approvingly. Perfect. Communications, please inform Commander Vexthul that he's now meeting representatives of the 5th Fleet, Terran Defense Force. Kate Davis opened the channel again. Commander Vexthul, you are now in the presence of 24 ships of the United Earth 5th Fleet. Please do not be alarmed. We mean you no harm. Vexthul stared at his instruments in disbelief. 24 ships, each one capable of destroying his vessel with ease, had been hidden in this system waiting for him. The trap had been planned and executed with precision that spoke of military thinking far beyond anything in his experience. How long have you been waiting for us? He asked. Morrison's answer was chilling in its casual tone. 3 weeks, 2 days, 16 hours. We've been tracking your patrol routes for some time, Commander. We knew you would eventually come through this system. You've been watching us? Commander, we've been watching everyone. Humanity takes a very active interest in our galactic neighbors. We believe in being prepared. Weapons Officer Brad Williams was running final checks on the fleet's targeting systems. Every alien ship within 50 light-years was now painted with multiple target locks from different human vessels. The aliens didn't know it yet, but if they tried to call for help, they would discover that help was already being watched by human ships. Sir, Williams reported, all fleet weapons are online and ready. We have full tactical superiority throughout this system. Noted, Morrison replied. But remember, we're here to make friends, not enemies. The irony was perfect. Humanity's version of friendship apparently began with overwhelming military superiority and ended with polite requests for cooperation. Morrison walked closer to the main screen, where the image of the alien ship filled the display. Commander Vexthul, humanity would like to formally request a meeting with representatives of your confederation. We have much to discuss. Such as? Vexthul asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. Morrison smiled, and somehow that smile was the most terrifying thing the aliens had seen yet. Such as humanity's application for membership in your galactic confederation. We're very eager to join your community of civilized species. The silence that followed Morrison's words stretched across space like a physical thing. Commander Vexthul stared at his instruments, watching 24 human warships maintain perfect formation around his single scout vessel. Each ship was a masterpiece of military engineering, and together they represented more firepower than most species possessed in their entire navies. Membership? Vexthul finally managed to ask. You want to join the Confederation? Morrison's voice remained pleasant and conversational. Absolutely, Commander. Humanity believes strongly in galactic cooperation. We think we have quite a lot to offer your alliance. Such as? Well, for starters, we're excellent at solving problems. Take piracy, for example. I understand the Confederation has ongoing issues with raiders in the Outer Rim territories. Vexthul nodded slowly. Piracy had been a constant problem for decades. Confederation ships were often attacked by raiders who disappeared into the vast emptiness between systems. How would humanity solve this problem? The alien commander asked. Morrison smiled. Very simple, Commander. We would eliminate piracy completely within 6 months of joining your confederation. That's impossible. We've been fighting pirates for 50 years. You've been fighting them with Confederation methods, Commander. Humanity approaches the problem differently. We don't just hunt pirates, we make piracy extinct. On the Thunder Bay, Strategic Operations Officer Nick Foster was monitoring communications traffic across 17 star systems. Human intelligence networks had been watching pirate activities for months, learning their patterns, tracking their bases, and preparing comprehensive elimination strategies. Sir, Foster reported to Morrison through the neural link, we have confirmed locations on 43 pirate bases and full tactical data on their fleet movements. We could eliminate 90% of pirate activity in this sector within 2 weeks. Morrison nodded mentally. Humanity didn't just wage war, they solved military problems with the thoroughness of scientists conducting experiments. But that's just one example. Morrison continued speaking to the aliens. We could also help with your border disputes, territorial conflicts, and resource allocation problems. Humanity is very good at bringing stability to troubled regions. Vexthul felt a chill run down his spine. The way Morrison said bringing stability made it sound less like peacekeeping and more like conquest. And what would humanity want in return for this help? Very little, Commander. Just a seat at the table, a voice in Confederation decisions, the right to establish trade relationships and defensive agreements with member species. It sounded reasonable, even generous. But Vexthul had seen enough of human military capabilities to understand what was really being offered. Humanity wasn't asking to join the Confederation as equals. They were offering to take it over and run it properly. Suddenly, space around. The silent wind filled with new contacts. Vexthul watched in growing horror as his sensors detected ship after ship dropping out of hyperspace. Not human ships this time, but Confederation vessels responding to the emergency beacon his crew had secretly activated. "Sir," his navigation officer called out. "Confederation 4th Fleet is arriving. 12 ships, led by Admiral Korthak aboard. The dreadnought Stellar Pride." Morrison's voice came over the communication channel, still pleasant but now carrying a hint of disappointment. "Commander, that was unwise. We specifically asked you not to call for reinforcements." "How did you know we sent a signal?" Vexthul asked. "Commander, we've been monitoring all communication frequencies since you arrived. We knew about your distress beacon before your own fleet received it." On the Thunder Bay, communications officer Kate Davis was tracking the incoming Confederation ships with professional interest. The aliens had responded exactly as human intelligence had predicted they would. Every move, every decision, every tactical choice had been anticipated and planned for. "Sir," Davis reported to Morrison, "Admiral Korthak is demanding our immediate surrender. He's also asking why we haven't destroyed the Silent Wind yet." Morrison chuckled. "Interesting assumption. Please inform the Admiral that humanity doesn't destroy ships for the crime of curiosity. We're not barbarians." The Confederation fleet took up positions around the human ships, trying to establish some kind of tactical advantage. But even Vexthul could see it was hopeless. 12 Confederation ships against 24 human vessels was bad enough, but the real problem was that humanity had already demonstrated they could see through Confederation stealth, hack Confederation computers, and predict Confederation tactics. Admiral Korthak's voice came across the communication channel, deep and commanding. "Human ships, you are trespassing in Confederation space. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." Morrison's reply was calm and respectful. "Admiral Korthak, representing the Terran Defense Force. It's an honor to meet you, sir. Read your tactical manuals. Very impressive work, particularly your strategies for fleet coordination." There was a pause. "You've read our tactical manuals?" "Oh yes, Admiral, all of them. We've studied Confederation military doctrine quite thoroughly. We particularly admired your victory at the Battle of Proxima 7. The way you used asteroid fields to mask your approach was brilliant." Admiral Korthak was clearly thrown off balance by this casual discussion of classified military information. "How do you know about Proxima 7? That battle was classified." "Admiral, humanity makes it our business to understand our neighbors. We've been studying the Confederation for quite some time. We know about your ship designs, your crew training methods, your supply lines, your defensive strategies, and your command structure." The alien admiral was beginning to understand what Commander Vexthul had already figured out. Humanity hadn't just stumbled into this first contact. They had been planning it for months, possibly years. Aboard the Thunder Bay, Admiral Susan White materialized on the bridge via holographic projection. As commander of the entire 5th Fleet, she had been monitoring the situation from her flagship, the USS Retribution, positioned just outside the system. "Morrison, excellent work," she said. "Are our guests ready for the final presentation?" "I believe so, Admiral. They seem appropriately impressed with our capabilities." Admiral White nodded and activated the fleet-wide communication system. Her voice went out on all frequencies, in all languages, to every ship in the system. "Attention, Confederation vessels. I am Admiral Susan White, commanding the United Earth 5th Fleet. On behalf of humanity, I formally request an audience with the Galactic Confederation Council. Admiral Korthak's voice was tight with barely controlled anger. For what purpose? To discuss humanity's application for membership in your alliance, Admiral. We believe we have much to offer the galactic community. And if we refuse? Admiral White's voice remained pleasant, but there was steel underneath the politeness. Admiral, I hope that won't be necessary. Humanity much prefers cooperation to conflict. However, I should mention that the Fifth Fleet is just one of 12 human fleets currently positioned throughout Confederation space. The words hit like a bomb. Vexthul checked his instruments frantically, but he already knew what he would find. Human ships were appearing on sensors all across the galaxy. Dozens of them, hundreds of them. They had been there all along, invisible and waiting. How many ships? Admiral Korthak asked quietly. Enough, Admiral. More than enough. Morrison stepped forward again, his voice carrying the weight of absolute certainty. Admiral Commanders, we're not here to conquer anyone. We're here to join the galactic community. But we want to join as equals with full voting rights and equal representation. And if we say no? Morrison smiled, and that smile contained the promise of things too terrible to imagine. Admiral, I don't think you'll say no. I think you'll say yes, and then you'll help us write new policies for dealing with piracy, territorial disputes, and threats to galactic peace. I think you'll discover that having humanity as an ally is far preferable to having us as anything else. Admiral Korthak was silent for a long moment. Finally, his voice came across the channel, defeated and resigned. I'll contact the Confederation Council. Excellent, Morrison replied. We look forward to a long and productive relationship. As the human ships began to power down their weapons, Vexthul realized that history had just changed forever. Humanity hadn't conquered the galaxy through force. They had conquered it through the simple expedient of making conquest unnecessary. The galaxy now belonged to humanity, and they had been polite enough to ask permission first.